Shalom Yahawah, this is your brother Yahawah coming at you from GMS Tampa Bay 07, coming at you with this truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawah Shah, double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. A salutation and much love to you. I can push this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth. I wanted to get into this quick lesson, which was inspired by one of the apostles' videos, one of his, beginner lessons. One of the lessons for the beginners about things you didn't know about the Lord. So one of the things I want to touch on was, the Lord being a man of war. And, just because we read the Lord of hosts all the time, we read this all the time, we read about, the Lord is a man of war. But when you actually read through these scriptures a lot, the Lord is like, the Most High isn't just a title. That is like, it is undescribable. You know what I'm saying? All the things that we know of and we see of, he's like, oh, he real gangster, or he like the mob and this and that. All of these things are just spin-offs and knockoffs of how the Most High is, how the mafia type stuff, their ranking and organization and stuff get down and so on and so forth, stuff like that. The Most High is where they get all this stuff from, So we're gonna pull out a couple scriptures, just touching on some of the things, This here lesson can go on, there's plenty of examples throughout the scriptures. We could be here hours and hours on end just putting out scriptures. But I just put together a couple of little scriptures here. We're going to just go through these, just touching on, some of the instances that, show him more or less in a, like if he was looking at a person's biography or something like that, you get to see them more or less in the battlefield, what they did as a general, more or less to say, So we're going to just go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to start in Exodus chapter 15, verse 3. It says, I'm going to start at verse 2. It says, Yahawah is my strength and song. He has become my salvation. He is my power, and I will prepare him a habitation. My father's power, and I will exalt him. I will exalt him. Basically, going, basically saying the Most High is the Most High, He's like my provider, he's my strength. He's going to be the one that's going to take care of me, But the point that we wanted to grab is in verse 3. It says, Exodus 15:3. It says, Yahawah is a man of war. Yahawah is his name, When you go into that, they would break it down as Jehovah, but, that's improper Hebrew. The letter J wasn't there, and, a lot of those other letters wasn't there, but we understand that. But it says here again, Exodus 15:3, Yahawah is a man of war. Yahawah is his name. All right, and we're going to go into a couple of scriptures that kind of highlight this. All right. Speaking of war, the Most High has, he has, not plans, but he has an outline of what we are to do, in times of war. So we're going to pull this here out in Deuteronomy 21. We'll go to verse 10. It says, when thou goest forth to war against thy enemies, okay. The Most High didn't say don't go to war with your enemies. You should be peaceful among all men. The Most High didn't say that. And when you read further on along in the Bible from here, when basically Moses, Moses was like the first commanding general, more or less to say. They even had wars with Moses. Moses, they held Moses' arms up, and as he prayed for the children of Israel, they prevailed against their enemies. And when his arms came down, the enemy started prevailing against Israel. But after that, when, Moses basically passed it on to Joshua and Caleb, from that point on, they went on a whole war path, It was just war after war after war after war, The Most High didn't say, when you don't go to war, you should be peaceful amongst all men. No, the Most High was actually commanding them to go out and to go to war, and he was telling them how to go to war. So here's one of the, not to say the rules of war, but how to do certain things while in war, okay? So this is Deuteronomy 21:10. It says, when thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, okay, and you also have enemies, okay, and Yahawah thy power hath delivered them into thy hand. So the Most High is with you going to war, especially if he didn't, brought these enemies up upon you, It says, when thou goest forth to war against thy enemies, and Yahawah thy power hath delivered them into thy hands, and thou takest them captive, okay? So you go to war, and you take the spoils of war, what they call booty, you take spoils of war, The Most High set forth in the law certain laws pertaining to war. And when you get down in war, what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, okay? It says, Deuteronomy 21:10 again. It says, when thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and Yahawah thy power has delivered them into thy hand, and thou hast taken them captive, okay? And seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have had her, have her to thy wife. So when you go to war, right, and you go out there and you can kill all the men, you know what I'm saying? You take the women and the children, shit, the kids grow up to be slaves, you know what I'm saying? You got servants now, okay? But these women, if you see a woman that's beautiful, you want this woman, you know, and you desire to have this woman as your wife, you know, you done went over to this new land, and you done took these people, and you want them to be your wife, you know, or you know, you want to take them as your wife, because that's your possession now, okay? It says, and thou seest amongst the captives a beautiful woman, and thou hast desired unto her, that thou wouldst have her to thy wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thy house. Okay, so the Most High is already with you going to war, you know, especially if he didn't put you up on somebody to go to war, okay, against your enemies, and he's going to deliver you, okay, or deliver them into your hand, you know. Then also, you're going to take them captive, okay. You're going to take whatever's left over as spoil, and then out of those captives, if you see a woman that you desire, if she's beautiful to you, you know, you find her attractive and you want her as your wife, like, damn, I'm about to take home, girl, she's about to be my old lady now, you know. She ain't got no right to say shit, you know. It's either life or death for her, you know. But it says, then thou shalt bring her home to thy house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, you know. And this is also a little cut to our women nowadays, you know, walking around with the side of their head shaved and shit like that, because it's actually a sign that somebody got you in captivity, you know. Somebody took you captive and they make you shame-faced it, you know. You're not your own woman no more. You basically, like we reading here now. So to me, it's just a fucking abomination to see our women walking around, sides of their heads shaved off, and this and that, and their whole heads bald. You see these celebrities like Rihanna and them doing it, but you have to understand, Esau in the spirit, he know about this. They slaves to him. Why do you want to, like, you know, let's say somebody went and kidnapped somebody else, right, and kept them captive somewhere. Your dumb ass is over there trying to break into the damn dungeon where they get held captive and become a slave with their ass. You know, most people will try to break out of captivity, don't want to go into captivity. But, you know, our women nowadays are so destroyed, they want to shave their heads, you know, as, you know, like what we're reading here, you know, as if somebody took them captive. You know, they somebody's booty or somebody's spoils of war, you know. But anyway, it says, verse 12 again, thou shalt bring her home to thy house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails. So cut her nails and shave her head, okay? And she shall put the raiment of her captivity off from her, off. Let me read that again. She shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her. She shall remain in thy house and bewail her father and her mother a full month. So yeah, you shave her head and her nails, and she's supposed to stay in your house, and she's supposed to mourn for her parents and, you know, to her way of life, because shit, she ain't going back. They already dead. You know, you done killed all their ass. Give her time to mourn, because, you know, she just lost her whole damn family. She didn't see her whole family get slaughtered. You know what I'm saying? Now she's somebody's spoils of war. You know, you give her a little time off. It says, she shall remain in thy house and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that she shall go in. After that thou shalt go unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. So after that month, after you shaved her head and her nails and let her mourn for her family, after that you can go ahead and go have sex with homegirl. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go, whether she will. Okay? If you don't like this chick after a while, you can let her ass go, you know? But thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Okay? You can't go and pimp this bitch out. That's against the scriptures. You know, you just let her ass go on her own. Like, you came with nothing, you can leave with nothing, you know? And you ain't supposed to make no profit off of her either, you know? But thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. You know, you done shaved her head and all, you know, did all of that, you know what I'm saying? And then you also then popped homegirl, you know what I'm saying? Put her in a submissive spot, you know? But you ain't supposed to sell her off and make her no goddamn sex slave or nothing like that. And, you know, how people be trafficking, how Esau do it nowadays, you know? That's against the scriptures, you know? Jump to a couple more scriptures real quick and we can close it out. This is 2 Chronicles chapter 18 and verse 18. This is 2 Chronicles 18 and 18. Again he said, therefore hear the word of Yahawah. And I saw Yahawah sitting upon his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing on his right hand and on his left hand. So this is just an appearance up into the actual heavens where the Most High's throne is, you know. And I mean, you can read this. This is pretty gangster, thugged out shit right here. This is like the mafia coming and bidding on somebody's head, you know. The Most High is about to have the spirits, you know, what you would call angels and demons, the ones on the left and on the right hand side, bidding on how they about to go and fuck somebody up, you know. The Most High is, hey, he like, do something to make me happy, that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Go out there and please me. Go, do something to excite me. You know what I'm saying? And then the angels is bidding on who gonna go over there and fuck them up the most. You know. But for the time constraint, you know, we're not gonna read all the way through. But if you read that down to 22, you know what I'm saying? You'll kind of see the scenario that's going on. You can also read about this in 2 Kings as well. But nevertheless, the next scripture we're gonna grab is in the book of Isaiah, chapter 13 and verse 4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains like of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts, okay, there's that title again, the Lord of hosts, the commanding general, the one calling all the shots, mustereth the host of the battle. So he, the Lord of hosts, or the Lord of armies, okay, you have saying, they be like, I'm the king of kings. You know, out of all the other kings, I'm the one king over all of them. This is pretty much like saying the same thing. You know, out of all the armies, I'm the commanding general over all those armies. You know, the Lord of hosts. But it says the Lord of hosts. It says the Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. So the Lord of armies bring all the other armies to battle. He the one calling them forth. You know, they ain't really doing that on their own. It's the Most High that's bringing them forth. Okay. You know, and we'll read verse 5 and 6 as well. It says, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. That's talking about those ICBM nuclear missiles, you know. That's the Lord's weapons of indignation, like we just read there, you know. But that's for a different topic, you know. Verse 6, it says, how ye, for the day of Yahawah is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. So the day of the Most High, the day of the Lord, you know, the day where he get his shine is going to be a great war, you know. He's going to bring out all the stops, you know. Man, and like I said, we can go on days and days and days on this, you know what I'm saying? When you go and you put these things together like Leviathan in the sea, you know, you got the chariots in the air. You got the 144,000. Then you got the angels. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a war like never been before. Then also you going to have the race wars and stuff like that, but that's on a small level comparable to like the people going to be like David, in the house of David going to be like basically like the Most High, you know, the angels. You know, and then the angels going to be getting busy. Then you got basically like Godzilla in the ocean, you know, Leviathan, you know. It's going to get real busy out there. Then the Lord going to bring the nukes and the chariots, you know. But nevertheless, it says, how ye, for the day of Yahawah is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Okay. Still in Isaiah, going over to chapter 22. Verse 5. It's Isaiah 22 and 5. For it is a day of trouble and of treading down and of perplexity by Yahawah of hosts, or by Yahawah power of hosts in the valley of visions, breaking down the walls and of crying to the mountains. This is basically talking about, you know, the valley of Jehoshaphat, which we're going to get to that as well. Matter of fact, we'll grab that next. But nevertheless, it's talking about, you know, the valley of Jehoshaphat when World War III is coming down. It says, for it is a day of trouble, you know. The day of the Lord is a day of trouble and of treading down. Who getting treaded down? All these nations, all the kings of the earth, and everybody that came against Israel, okay? And of perplexity by Yahawah power of hosts, okay? All these perplexities and all this craziness going on is all being orchestrated by the Most High. He's in control. Esau and all these other nations have lost their power and control. That's why it's perplexity, and they losing control because the Most High is taking control, and he's about to bring them all down. Okay? Breaking down the walls and of the cryings of the mountains. All right? Let me grab my next precept. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 2. It says, I will also gather all nations. Okay? This is going to be World War III. And bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Okay? Which is Yahawah Shaphat, the Lord's judgment. Okay? This is over there. If you look at it on the map, it's right there, kind of by the border of Syria and Israel, inside of Israel, the northern part. Okay, which you see them already over there at that point right now. And you see all this perplexity and all that stuff going on right now over there, okay? It says, I will gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered amongst the nations and part of my land. So yeah, that day of perplexity and all that stuff coming down, the Lord of hosts, he gathering a host to battle, you know. He gathering up his army against Esau and all these other heathens' armies, okay? I'll bring one more scripture out. We're going to close out. This is the book of Isaiah. We're going back to Isaiah again. I should have brought this out earlier. This is Isaiah 42, verse 13. It says, Yahawah shall go forth as a mighty man. He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. There's that man of war again, like we read in Exodus chapter 15, verse 3. He's a man, the Lord is a man of war. Yahawah is his name. Okay? It says, the Lord shall go forth as a mighty man. Okay? He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. He shall cry, yea, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies. Okay? Now, keep this in mind, because we're going to read, you know, they're going to use certain wordage, you know, travailing like a woman. That's like a woman giving birth, you know, when she on that medical bed and she, you know, in labor, and she push and screaming and all that stuff, you know, that's what they talking about here. But, you know, we have way better examples than that. I mean, now, when a woman giving birth, she's giving it her all, you know what I'm saying? And she's crying out in pure pain, you know? But, you know, we see certain things like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that, these little movies and stuff like that, when you see somebody so-called powering up or they giving it, you know, they power up, scream, like, you know, watch Dragon Ball Z. You know, they might be doing that, they like, the end of one episode might go off, whole other episode might go on, they be still yelling and powering up, you know, and then the third episode is when they finally let loose, and then they just let everything out, you know. But nevertheless, it's kind of like what's going to be going down. It says, Isaiah 42 and 14, or 13, Yahawah shall go forth as a mighty man. He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. He shall cry, roar, yea, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies. Okay, so they ain't going to prevail. You read that in 2nd Ezra. Okay, I have long time holding my peace. I have been still. I have refrained myself. So the whole time the Most High said, I sat back and been quiet while y'all heathens scoffed and did all y'all shit y'all wanted to do, make mockery and blaspheme. But now, I'm about to let loose on y'all ass, alright? It says, I have long time holding my peace. I have been still. I have refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. Okay? And when you read the next one, you know, it's talking about, we'll read it. Verse 15, I will make waste mountains and hills. Okay? Talking about these people or nations, small governments and large governments. I will dry up their herbs, and I will make the river islands, and I will dry up the pools, you know. It's talking about when those nukes come down, you know. But nevertheless, Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying, you know, just touching on some of the things that the Most High, you know, how they say, the God of War, more or less. That's a title, you know, they got a video game called that, but that's actually a title for the Most High, you know. He has many titles, you know, but, you know, Yahawah is his name, you know. The scriptures say the Lord is a man of war. Yahawah is his name. Then up here it says, he will stir up jealousy like a man of war, you know. He's going to prevail against his enemies. He's long time holding his peace, but now he's going to cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. Hey, Yahawah is his name. You know, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of a living power. But with that, we're going to go ahead and close out. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until next time, I say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahashim Yahweh Shah. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love to you, Akin, that's pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions. Stay strong. Shalom.